Hey guys, this is Nick Campanella with Taylor Timepieces, and on this episode of Off the Cuff, we are going to be talking about something very interesting, which is the myths of being a watch dealer and being in the industry. So a lot of times, I hear people talk about how easy it would be to be a watch dealer and um, things of that sort, and basically that anyone could be a watch dealer, and it's really just putting calls into Facebook groups and things like that, and trying to get your clients watches. And then of course they have a lot of myths and misconceptions on the kind of margins that you make as an everyday watch dealer. And so I figured I'd talk about that with you guys today and just kind of give you some insight on, uh, kind of what the everyday is like for us, and basically, some of the ideas that rather you guys might have that might be incorrect, some corrections on those ideas, and um, let's get into it. So the first of which is, kind of what I had mentioned, which was, the idea that your margins are huge as a watch dealer. Now, that really, that answer to that question is kind of a double-sided sword, in the sense that, um, a lot of people uh, will make the money depending on what kind of dealer they want to be. So if you are primarily a retail dealer, your margins can be a little bigger. They're usually anywhere from 10 to sometimes 30% on the bigger pieces. Now, granted, that really depends on the kind of piece that it is. So, recently we had a special gold Omega that was limited to 4 pieces, and on that one, we did have more of a margin on it because it was hard to get. In a lot of these dealers, you'll find that a lot of wholesale dealers do not want to, uh, basically hold on to these pieces that are considered, long holds, or dogs. They call it dogs in the industry because they're stuff it's slow, kind of like that movie Dog Day Afternoon. That it's a slow piece, and it doesn't move super quick. There's not a lot of liquidity in the piece. So if there's not a lot of liquidity in the piece, myself as a dealer, I want to make sure that if I'm holding on to this piece, that I am able to hold on to it and make the kind of money that I need on it. And if it's a Rolex, I'm fine making anywhere from $250 to $1,000 on the piece. But if it's something like a vintage Omega or an IWC in a unique configuration, or something that maybe uh, is not something that is going to be the front runner to a lot of the shops, especially on 47th Street. 47th Street, you see, people moving pieces at quick, $200, $500 clips. Um, then of course you want to make more money on it if you're gonna sit on it for a while. So, this is a statement that I get a lot from people, especially when they're buying Rolex, because they think that we, as secondary market dealers, get the watches from the dealer. Now, that's a misconception. To correct that, a lot of dealers in general, and the ADs, when it comes to the authorized dealers of these watches, they don't like working with guys like us because they know that we're going to resell the piece primarily for more on the secondary market, and they want to deal more so with collectors. Now, the reason why these lists are so long is because you have the occasional AD that will work with guys like us anyway, and they'll sell us, you get pieces, under the table, in the amount of 5, 10, 20, pieces at a time. And a lot of these bigger dealers, out of Hong Kong or Singapore or other nations, even some people here in the States will buy those big lots, and they'll buy those big lots from from the manufacturer at a increased price, but not quite full secondary market value, so that way they can resell it. So that's why that list came about. Now, sometimes, yes, it's true that these lists are, you know, uh, that these lists are in effect, and as these pieces are harder to get. But most times, I would say maybe about 70% of the time, it's the fact that, hey, they do have it, but you have not earned the right to uh, be on that list. So you haven't earned the right. So it's kind of like, if I'm selling a product, I want to make sure that um, the watch that I have, whether it's a watch or a um, or a car, or some specialty item. Let's say one of the things we do is I'm in suiting as well. If I have something unique that I don't get often a lot, I want to make sure that my best clients get the piece. And a lot of people hate on Rolex for that. I don't really see anything wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you ran a business and you said, hey, I have 3 of these products. I can either give it to the guy who spends $1 million a year with me, or I can give it to the guy who walks in over the street and just wants the watch. I'm going to give the best service that I can to the best client that I have. I think that's across the board on all businesses. And a lot of people give Rolex hate for that. There was a lot of past couple of weeks, Rolex was being sued because of market manipulation, and they were fined in excess of a couple $1 million. And the whole thing there is, at the end of the day, I think any reasonable business would give their best product to their best customers. So I think that argument falls flat on its face when you say, hey, listen, you might be upset that Rolex isn't picking you because you've wanted a watch for a while, but it's all about connections, and so that is something really interesting. A lot of the margins that we make, I could say personally, from my point of view, my margin is anywhere from 5 to 15% on average. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less. If it's something like a Rolex, it's on the lower end. If it's something like a specialty piece that's hard to get, or something I know I'm going to sit on for a bit, I'm going to make sure that I can sit on it with a healthy margin. Of course, trade-ins are always better for us as dealers than working dealer to dealer. But I get a lot of clients that come to me and they say, hey, you're buying this watch at retail. Maybe retail on this Batman is $13,000-$14,000 after tax, and they think that we're going to sell it to them at $20,000 and make a $4,000 spread. That's not usually the case. Usually the case is you make anywhere from $500 to $1,000, depending on the completeness and your relationship with that manufacturer that you're working with. Fortunately, we have manufacturers all over the world. Some of which are international, some of which are nationally recognized. But of course, we work with people in Japan, people in Europe, France. We were just in France for a couple weeks, and that is the myth that I hear a lot is that these watch dealers will go and they'll buy stuff at retail. You buy an AP at retail, and then you sell the piece and you make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. I mean, if you were able to do that on Patek, a lot of these watch dealers would not be working as hard as they are. I mean, if I was a guy who was able to sell a product and you're able to sell one product and make $20,000, $30,000 on a watch, and you make that spread, you'd only be selling a couple watches a week or a month, and then you'd be done. I mean, yes, there are pieces that you could do that on. That's primarily if you're fortunate enough to get these special limited pieces, if you build a good connection with your AD. But for the most part, personally, my margin is anywhere from 5 to 15% on a regular basis. Another thing that I get really interestingly is basically that the sourcing of the products, and that is something that people ask me, hey, where do you get this watch from, and how do I know that this watch is authentic? And something we touched on earlier in the video is, hey, we do have other sources. We spend a lot of time here at Taylor Timepieces making sure the sources that we have are vetted and kosher, no pun intended. And I work with people in Dubai, I work with people in Europe, I work with people in New York, people in LA, people in Florida, Miami, and all those people have been in business for several years. The people tend to think that these watches are acquired through nefarious means and circumstances, and that's just not the case. A lot of the watches that actually we receive every week are from our clients here. People like you guys who come in and say, "Hey, I have this watch. I'm trying to sell this piece, and I really want to." Uh, make sure it goes to a trusted individual who I know I'm going to get paid quickly for, because a lot of these guys, they'll receive watches, from these clients, and you get paid in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. Our policy is 24 hours. I can't tell you how many times I've sent a watch to a dealer, to somebody else, and they pay me at their convenience, and then their convenience becomes a couple of days. Now, if you're in a cash crunch and you're a client, or maybe you want to hop into your next piece as quickly as possible because you saw a good deal and you want to make sure it doesn't pass you by, you want to make sure you get paid quickly, and you want to make sure that you get paid, fairly for your watch. So we have things in place such as trade-in things. We have things in place such as purchase agreements to make sure that all the clients that we work with are gentlemen and ladies that we trust, that we feel confident and dealing with. If you were to ask me where a lot of our watches come from, I would say a lot of our vintage pieces, especially the Rolexes, come from Japan. We make a trip to Japan probably about once every other year. I've only been in business since 2019, so that's about two, almost three times. And it's a beautiful country, and they don't mess around there. They are super clean with everything. They're super kosher with everything. And, I always say that, people get scared about the secondary market. And I think to myself, you always got to buy the person that is selling you the item. So if you trust that person, if they're visible, like right now we're talking, I'm trying to talk as one-to-one as I can to you guys. You see my face, you know that I'm a guy, you know that I'm trustworthy, and that I'm willing to, back my product and discuss with you guys, then that's the way to go. So that is something that is really interesting. And, other myths and misconceptions that we have is that, basically that the spread is huge, and basically, that we take advantage of these clients, and something that I think it was Roman Sharf said, which was like, hey, like, yeah, you might see a watch and you might say, hey, this guy's going to make $800 on this watch, but I have employees, I have an office, I have lights I got to keep on, I have families I need to feed. It's like any other business. You got marketing expenses, you got other things that you have to entail. So even though you might look at something, you might say, hey, the market on this watch is, you're offering me 10,000 and it costs you 12,000. You have things like fees, you have things like hold times. All this stuff is taken into consideration when buying a watch. I have guys that do authentication for me that we need to pay. We have watchmakers that do servicing that we need to pay. All this stuff is really, primarily unique. And when they see the dollar signs and they go, hey, you're offering me X and this item is going for Y, that's something to always keep in mind. As far as the myth that the barrier to entry is low in the watch industry, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a myth. The barrier to entry is low, but the metric and the reputational value of staying in this industry is what makes it difficult. So you could have a smuck who, it's maybe the first week of March and he wants to get into watches and he has maybe $5,000 to play with. I find that, for me at least, you get in quick, but once you're in, you're just held to a very strict and stringent moral code. It's not a spoken of moral code. There's no rules, there's no contracts in this industry. A lot of times we say mazel, which basically means deal or sold. It's an old term that basically means that my word is my bond. And when you are caught as a dealer breaking that trust between other dealers, everyone will know about it. So, that's something that we keep in mind is, I get a lot of guys that say, oh, yeah, I could be a watch dealer. We just have to, buy a watch and sell a watch. And if you buy a watch and sell a watch, I could do that enough times, and then I become a watch dealer, I become a jeweler. That has some truth to it. There's a little grain of truth to it, meaning that, no one is going to stop you if you want to buy a watch and sell it on Facebook Marketplace. No one's going to stop you doing that. It's a free country. But, if you get wind that you're maybe selling broken product, or maybe you're selling things quick, or maybe you pack something incorrectly, I'll share with you, as someone with a disability, sometimes it is very difficult for me to pack my items. And, when I first started in the industry, before I got some help doing so, you'd have people that would say, hey, man, you got to pack your items better. So the dealers and the jewelers in the industry really keep you accountable and, hold you accountable for your actions. And while it is easy to get into this industry, it's also very hard to stay in this industry if you, are not someone who is able to keep their word. There's things like, there's no backing out of deals once a deal is made. If you got your numbers wrong on a deal, I'm never going to go to a client and say, hey, Mr. Client, I promised you, $10,000 for this item. I miscalculated based on the market. I need to offer you $8,000. That's a big no-no. That's how you lose clients. So to anyone who is looking at getting into this industry and thinks that it's going to be a quick and easy thing and that anybody could be a watch dealer, anybody could sell a watch. Yes, I don't know if anybody could be a watch dealer. So if you were to ask me, basically, the perils of being a watch dealer, and, there's plenty of things that I will bring up in future videos, talking about that. I think that it's very important to keep that in mind, is that, basically, you're on your own, and basically you need to be held accountable. There's very few people there to hold your hand. Another thing that's really important is we're working with several thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars if you're a bigger guy, and if you mess up, you're in trouble. Listen, if you lose a watch, you get a watch stolen. You sell somebody a fake. There was a guy on YouTube not too long ago, I think it was Horology House, and he sold somebody a fake. And the proper thing to do is pay back everyone and get their money back. But if you're a new guy, you need to be held accountable to that and say, hey, listen, I understand mistakes happen, but this was my mistake. And I see so many new dealers that see the quick money and the glamour of this, and they don't realize the responsibility that you have several thousands of dollars of other people's money in your possession. And basically, it's something that I think a lot of people have to keep in mind. When thinking about doing this industry, there's so much glitter and glamour into this world. And I think one of the reasons why I started this channel is because I saw there was a lot of that on YouTube, and there wasn't a lot of, hey, we're newer guys, but we are going to, build something up, and we're going to show you, share with you our experiences, and show you, basically how to go from 1 to 10, not from, 90 to 100 like a lot of these other channels go. And they don't show you, struggling to build a client base. They don't show you, God forbid, you lose a watch. They don't show you, arguing with a client, or a client doesn't pay you on time. Some of those channels do, and I commend those channels, and those channels are doing well. But so often it's, hey, we're on 47th Street, and we bought a watch for $5,000, and we sold it two minutes later for $6,500 to a client. That stuff does happen, and when that happens, it's beautiful. But I would not consider that a norm in the watch industry. If you're looking at getting into this industry, and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make thousands of dollars a day, and everybody's happy, and I'm super pumped to build this business, and there's going to be no problems, I would take a step back and look at the whole picture of this business, because at the end of the day, this business is like any other business. There are good days and there are bad days, and that's just something I hear a lot, is how easy it would be to be a watch dealer. And it's a lot of fun to be a watch dealer. There are a lot of perks to being a watch dealer, but easy, I don't know if it's easy. I think it's simple in the sense that if you keep your word and you keep your clients happy and you buy correctly and you present yourself well, you will do very well in this business. But I would not say it's easy, and I would hope that anybody who is serious about being in this industry would agree with me. So yeah, those were just a couple myths that I wanted to dispel when it came to buying and selling watches. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed the video, and I appreciate putting this stuff out for you. Hopefully in this year we'll, have better, better videos and, better quality videos for you. We've actually started working with a gentleman who is going to take the forefront of a lot of our videos, and I'm just super excited to see where this year is going to take us. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your business and your viewership. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.